Evening, everyone, and welcome to The Next Revolution. I'm Steve Hilton, and this is the home of positive populism. Pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community. Tonight, we'll bring you more from my conversation at the White House with President Trump, a part of it that we couldn't quite squeeze into last week's show. Plus, an exclusive interview with legendary wrestling entrepreneur and until very recently member of the Trump cabinet, Linda McMahon. But tonight, I want to start with 3 letters that just about sum up how I've been feeling, and no doubt you too, as I watched with increasing disbelief this week the idiotic, infantile, irresponsible antics of the Democrats in Washington and their lackeys in the establishment state media. FFS. That's what I found myself yelling at the television all week. FFS. I'm not allowed to spell it out, but if you don't know what it means, you can look it up. That's what I felt when I saw every ludicrous, melodramatic, cynical statement. Oh, for F's sake, Pelosi, what are you talking about? Cover up. Cover up of what? Your own precious Mueller report found no crime. For F's sake, Nadler, you're the one holding the Constitution in contempt. Do you even understand what the separation of powers is? Do you care? What do they even mean, impeach the president? Impeach him for what? Winning an election they thought was theirs by right? What is it exactly that they want to investigate? What do they want to get to the bottom of with their endless, spurious subpoenas and hearings? The bottom of the barrel? They're already there. In all the hours wasted on this, hours when we could be talking about real things that affect the real lives of real Americans, not a single person, not the politicians, not the news anchors, not the pundits, none of them spend a single second talking about anything of actual substance that might justify all this manufactured scandal. It's all about the process, the political theatre. The Washington, D.C. political and media establishment have lost their minds. They are consumed with their own pathetic psychodrama, one that is utterly irrelevant to the rest of the country, but which is foisted on us anyway. What is the point of any of this except to indulge the demented rage of the resistance fanatics outdoing each other and shrieking at President Trump? If there's any justice, we'd kick out the lot of them and replace them with normal people who can calmly work with each other and the president to get things done. I sent out a tweet last week which seemed to strike a chord, so here it is again. Nancy Pelosi is a disingenuous charlatan, throws around Watergate-style cover-up accusations, then blames Trump for not being cooperative. She's recklessly undermining faith in our democracy institutions, and for what? To pander to her base. She's the one who should be impeached. Right. Allow me to elaborate. All of this madness will come back to haunt Pelosi and Nadler and Schiff and Maxine Waters and all the rest of them. The fury of the half of the country whose votes for this president are being scorned on a daily basis by Democrats who refuse to accept the result of the 2016 election and want to overturn it through undemocratic means. The fury of those millions of Americans, it will be visited on the Democrats. That I can tell you. People will not forget the way these self-righteous tyrants behaved. Vengeance will come. If impeachment is now the way to pursue political differences, right then, let's impeach Pelosi and Nadler. They're doing more damage to our democracy than Donald Trump has ever done. If total, all-out investigation is now the chosen tactic to obstruct political opponents, right then, let's make sure it's applied with equal force to the Democrats. Let's get Nancy Pelosi's tax returns and her husband's while we're at it, and Maxine Waters' bank statements. That'll be fun, considering she was once found to be the most corrupt member of Congress. Speaking of corruption, don't forget Jerry Nadler. He's up to his neck in it, with a decades-long track record of taking money from businesses where he has a clear conflict of interest. Let's get the Southern District of New York onto him. But we've got to pay it forward, too. One day, there will be another Democratic president, and that person, whoever they are, must be crippled right out of the gate by the full weight of investigatory power. No honeymoon, no cooperation, just resistance, obstruction, and vilification. That must be the fate of the next Democratic president. It's only fair. President Trump says this should never happen to another president again. Well, that is certainly magnanimous of him. But I think it needs qualification. He's right about the long term. But before we move on, before we return to normal, a debt must be paid by the Democrats. They must go through the exact same process they've put this president through. It's only fair. It's what justice demands. And then, once they have received a taste of their own medicine, once the democratic debt has been repaid, perhaps then we can return to a more civilized state of affairs. Tell me what you think of that at Steve Hilton X and at NextRevFNC.